YouTube, welcome to the top 8 every single week, mate. Now, by watching as long as you can, that greatly supports these videos. Hajime.
There can only be one winner, and you're looking at it. Let's go.
Let's start this off with Tenpai going first and passing for the very first turn. How the heck does that happen? Well, Divolo won the coin flip and chose to go second. Why would we do that? Fool loss in the draw phase, cross out designate, negate the fool loss because we play it also. Now, by using your fool loss in the draw phase, it plays around triple tactics talent, which requires the opponent to activate something in the main phase. What did I say? Protect your max C with your other hand traps. We crossed out the fool loss, protecting the max C, all within the draw phase, so no triple tactics talent for you. Nicely done. Darkness59 with the 10 gifted subs. I am loving it. Deal mine as the effect Veiler negates the Dark Beckoning Beast, now turning on the triple tactics talent to look at the hand or draw 2. Should we attempt to perform lethal damage under the effect of Max C? What are we afraid of? Well, we got the Phantom of Yubel, triple tactics. Oh, looks like we're ending. We're gonna look at that hand, return that one of Tundra back in the deck, then end our turn. We have our one form of disruption, negate a monster effect. Tenpai with only one Tundra and only one Sangan summoning, they are bricking. Now, the Fool Loss is activatable, but there's a Phantom of Yubel. This is interesting. What is happening here? We are, I believe, in the window of Droll and Lockbird being activatable. We want Phantom of Yubel to negate the Fool Loss, and then we're going to chain Droll and Lockbird. Another scenario we could have done was to preemptively imperm the Phantom of Yubel, but then they could summon another one. That could be a bit sus. So this is what's happening. We are protecting our Droll and Lockbird. Yep, there we go. Droll, you cannot add from the deck for the rest of the turn. Nicely done. Droll cancels out the Fool Loss, so we may as well use both of them in the same chain anyway, as we now just have impermanence. We're going to summon Squirmer, pop Yubel, summon a Terran Incarnate from the deck here, as we now further turn this into a Cross Sheep. Cross Sheep wants to be pointing to a fusion monster, as we're doing so right now, triggering the Sheep to reborn from Engrave. Normal the D Lotus as we now make a Muckraker. Muckraker will lock us into Fiend-type monsters only if we reborn a monster from Engrave. As we D Lotus summon a Spirit of Yubel to set up into the back row a Nightmare Pain, which plays around a Droll and Lockbird. We're going to Squirmer, Banish, reborn the Yubel. As we now turn this into a Varudross. Holy moly. To battle we go. We just have 4,000 damage here. Let's end it up. Now, unfortunately, the Muckraker is not a Sprite Elf. Thus, the Varudross is targetable with the Impermanence, but does it even matter? We only have TD Crow. What is this? Fool Loss, Maxi, Veiler, Fool Loss, Droll, Imperm, DD Crow. 7 hand traps with no engine. Nothing. Fool Loss. Again, all right. Ash, negate the Fool Loss, and then we're done. That's it. We have Lightning Storm. This is full combo. Now, before Varudross, we could freely use a card like Lightning Storm and they would not be able to negate. We now have a negate with that Varudross mate. And we could pop any card in the field with the escape. Then the Soul of Rage could link off with a special summon monster, then Little Knight could banish, then Little Knight could banish again, and then Phantom of Yubel can negate a monster effect, even under the protection of a Sangan summoning. That is 6 forms of disruption, plus a Droll and Lockbird in hand. 7 cards we have to deal with, plus the Max C. We're under the effect of Max C. We're going to chain Fool Loss, which will give us a single draw from the Soul of Rage going into a Little Knight. Yup, and also a Spirit Yubel, summoning a Yubel from the deck if we want to do that. Varudross, negate. Now down to 6 forms of disruption. Just 6. Hydra will be negated by Phantom of Yubel. Guaranteed. If you had a call by the Grave Finger, it would have been so good right now. Finger that Phantom of Yubel, but we don't have that, unfortunately. We're under Fool Loss, right? Wait, what? Wait, you summoned from the grave, the Yubel. It wasn't from the deck, so the Fool Loss did not draw. There we go. We're going to escape, pop the Typhon. I feel Typhon should be a trigger effect. It would be so much better if on summon it spun a card back. Oh my Jesus. The fact that you can Promethean Princess it, the fact that it has to be used in an open game state, it makes it so much worse. Wow, that is the end of Tenpai. This is why the deck is not as good anymore. It's just the way it is. We're going to be discarding the Spirit Gates, Reborn from Engrave. We have only 4,800 damage on field. Let's do this. Further linking this up into a Soul of Anguish, and with the access code Talker, it's now over 8,000 damage with the Varudras. Very well done. Lethal damage. Well, what do we have here? We have Masquerena into a double Little Knight play. Do we have Arvata or Kirin? It looks like we're just going to have a Kirin pop a card in the field, Promethean pop a card in the field, Amble Whale pop a card in the field, Imperm negates, and that is pretty much our forms of disruption. 6 forms of disrupt. Arvata ready to negate. Bonfire searching for a Poplar, limited to 1 by the way. Poplar trigger, summon itself onto the field, triggering the Promethean Princess. Promethean gets negated. As we're going to chain Masquerena, link off with the Amble Whale, plus Imperm negate the Arvata. And we were fearing there being a Skyburn or a Kirin in hand. Luckily, there was not. As we now make our Little Knight on summon, we're going to have the effect to banish. We're still at 5 disruptions so far. Right, I had Imperm as one of them. Little Knight, banish, we're at 4. Fire King Island, activate, pop Garunix from in hand to grab a Sacred King Garunix to trigger to summon itself on the field, to pop a Kirin from the deck, to then Reborn to the non-target pop a card in the field. This is our last chance of Little Knight, or it's gonna get popped. Little Knight, banishing Garunix. So we are now at Amble Whale and Garunix. We're at 2 disruption actually. Amble Whale and Kirin is our only other form of disruption. And we're begging our opponent to trigger our effects. We can't self-trigger it. We can't self-trigger the Garunix. We can't self-trigger the Amble Whale to pop. That's a problem. So if FSN Boss playing the mirror match knows, all right, let's put your fire in the back row, then you can't trigger your Amble Whale nor your Garunix, and I win. Yep, we're from the 2 disruption, we're now down to 0 because clearly we're not going to trigger the effect after a fire monster gets destroyed. It's not going to happen. What we could still screw up. Oh, nope, we stole the Amble Whale, so now we can't screw it up. I would say that if we have our own Link 3 or lower and we destroy it with our own card effect, let's say an Volcanics, that would trigger the opponent's Amble Whale to pop a card in the field. Reborn. Wow. Masterfully done. Beautiful. 10,000 damage going second. I love Snake Eye Fire King. It's a great deck. Goes well going first. Does well going second. All round amazing deck. Roll into Link Karibo. Okay. What did we accomplish? A lot of you may be like, huh? Summon, Droll, send it. Why do this? Doing this is so damn smart. Because what if the opponent has an Imperm? What if they have a Veiler? The Link Karibo is going to dodge the Imperm or Veiler. Beautiful. Summon the Ponix. Can't Imperm or Veiler. Nope, can't do it. You look like a fool. Fire King Sanctuary, set up the island, pop the Ponix, grab Garunix, and instead we're going to save the Veiler or Imperm onto a non-level 1. If it's a level 1 monster, the Link Karibo will dodge the Imperm or Veil. Good negate. And it's also very difficult when to know if you should use Veiler or Imperm. On paper, it's better to Veiler because you can have the impermanence be used on turn 2. It's got more versatility. But by doing so, you turn on their triple tactics talent, which could have completely changed the turn. Could have returned a card from the hand back in, could have drawn 2 cards. That's a no bueno. Instead, you turn this card dead. Island off the top of the deck is quite interesting. It is a 1 of here. As we set up the Fire King Island, Ash negate the Fire King Island. The Volcanics has no fire monster to destroy. So we need the island to pop the Volcanics as we finger the Ash. Negate. Now there's still an Imperm we have to play around here. Otherwise, the Imperm is the only form of relevant disruption. What happens if Garunix dies on field? Nothing. Nothing triggers, nothing happens. We're going to be summoning the Garunix off of a fire monster being destroyed as the Volcanic summons a Garunix in the deck. Volcanics on summon is going to get negated by the Impermanence. Again, Imperm turned off the talent. Imperm not fingerable at the Call by the Grave. Imperm is just insane. We have Zombie Vampire mill 4 cards for both players. Summon a monster among those 8 cards. Diablo Star from our own grave. Come forth. Trigger set up into the back row. Our own Poplar is going to trigger, put itself in our own back row, but it's not going to do anything. As we grab an Original Sinful. Original Sinful is here. Let's now turn our field into a Dark to steal a Dark monster from Engrave. That's going to be your Link Karibo. Thank you very much. As we now send that Link Karibo to the grave to summon an Ash from the deck. Let's trigger that Ash, grab Poplar, Poplar trigger, come forth and summon. Again, we are going second, and we're making huge plays. Beautifully done. We're making a Promethean Princess with that Dark. As the Poplar triggers to equip itself into the back row. Ash send itself plus Poplar to summon from the deck, a Flameburge. Flameburge pushing an opposing Garunix, which is played at 1, is a great play. As Promethean reborns our own Garunix, and that happens to be 8,400 damage. Just like that. Wow. 2-0 going second, both duels. FSN boss, you are a boss. Both of you played well. Thank you, Rixia. You're top tier also. Let's hop on another match. Fusion deployment. We are going to chain Maxi to that deployment. As we then chain Branded Opening to the Maxi, so you draw 1 less per the special summon. As we sneak out that Albert before the Maxi resolves, revealing the Grand Grenoble to summon a Cartesia from the deck. Cartesia gives you installation from Impermanent Veiler onto your Albert and your fusion summons. Ash Blossom, negate the Branded Fusion mates. And there you go. You now know how to win the mirror match. Ash, Branded Fusion, you're good. We're going to Quem, send from the deck, and Albaz. Now, we had plays as we really wanted the Albaz engraved. This was a good thing to note, that the Magna Hut banishing Albaz turns off the Quem from being able to reborn the Albaz to fuse with our field. Sure. Now, Albion Shrouded Dragon. This thrust is deadly. The thrust could thrust a Branded Fusion into the hand if the opponent activates a monster effect in any way whatsoever. We're going to brand it in High Spirits, search in our deck for a Cartesia, as we now set up the Branded Lost. Cartesia, special summon, let's chain that Maxi, and now we can thrust into our hand a Branded Fusion. This is when we start sweating. We are under the effect of Maxi. We are definitely at an advantage here, but it's going to look so bad if we take the Maxi challenge and don't win, and then we throw the whole duel. But it also may look bad if we don't take the Maxi challenge at all. The pressure is on. It's all on Epi as Nanashi now sits back and watches. What do we do? We're committing a bit. We're going into the Grand Grenoble. Draw 2 so far. Trigger the effect of loss. We cannot chain anything in response to the Grand Grenoble activating. Or the Lost as we add a Kit. Kit will be special summonable. As we send a Serenir, send from the deck here a Branded Fusion. Retribution, add the Branded Fusion to our hand. Now what's interesting is if you Retribution, add Branded Fusion, they chain a DD Crow banishing Branded Fusion, Kit adds it back. This is not just from the deck, it's deck, graveyard, or banishment. So I feel like that was kind of in a way set up to play around DD Crow. We're now gonna look at that hand, get that thrust out of here. It was not really gonna do anything. As we now, under the protection of Branded Lost, summon our Albion Branded Dragon. This ensures the opponent cannot respond with a Bestial. They can't Bestial, they can't Veiler. We are going to be banishing from the graveyard for what the heck? We're actually using this card without Super Poly. If this card is Fusion Summon, you can target cards your opponent controls up to the number of light and dark monsters used. Destroy them. Wow. We're popping. 2,500 pop too. Kit, come forth and summon. We got 9,200 damage on the field, but a body to block us and potentially a Bestial we got to worry about. We're going to Branded in white. Fuse with the graveyard to come forth and summon Mirror Jade. And with this at over 12,000 damage, lethal. Beautifully done. We took that maxi challenge as we had to. We had to do it, and then we had to make sure we had lethal through a Bestial, which we did. We had the first attack, the Bestial commons, we banish, and then we still go for game. I already made a video about this, that if you don't turn on this correct in-game setting, that even if you toggle off, I could see your delays. If I summon a monster from the extra deck, it's specifically a monster from the extra deck, it is pretty much an exploit, but it's no longer an exploit if everyone just turns it off. And if I could remember, what is that thing? I think I have to be dueling to show you. No, I think I could show it here. This has to be turned off. Not this, this. If I have this off and you have it on and you toggle off with your Impermanent Veiler and I summon a Link Creebo, I summon a Fusion, I summon anything, an Xyz monster, I will see you hiding your card. Even if you're hiding it, your field will still light up. I showcased it in a video, I went back and forth. It's a thing. So I encourage all players in the tournament to turn that off. Super Poly, discard to get Fusion. Let's fuse it up. Fuse the Lubellion and Quem into a Critus. Sure. As the banishment reborns the Albion and then gives the opportunity to fuse on resolution with either side of the field, which it looks like we just passed on that portion of the effect. As we Magna Hut, banish the Albion from Engrave, as we chain Maxi to the Magna Hut, coming forth and summoning. We have a Super Poly of our own. We're waiting. We are ready. And we are drawing per special summon, even on our own turn. I've said this many times against Brandon. The way to beat Brandon, it's very simple. You have Maxi for their first turn, and you have Max C for when you're going second. You need it for both. You got a Max C their turn 1 and their turn 2. It's very easy. We're gonna Super Poly fuse up their field. Fuse it. Just Lubellion, that is. Into Light and Darkness Dragon Lord. This is about to get confusing. What is gonna happen here? This has a mandatory quick effect to negate both players in response to an effect activating or a spell and trap card activating. So will it negate your own card here? No, it's only a spell and trap card activation or a monster effect activation. I'm describing what type of card and I'm describing what type of an effect. Right now, this is a spell effect, which it does not negate the activation of an effect of a spell. It will negate the Mirror Jade. Yes, it will. But the Mercurier will negate. Now, will it negate the Mercurier? It's only once per chain. So the whole hype around this card, it's now gone. Mirror Jade, non-target monster banish here. We're gonna send the Rinbrum, banishing the opposing Mirror Jade, Mercurier, negate. And it's now gone thanks to the Mirror Jade non-target monster banishing as we search for a Mercurier. Mercurier is going to negate the effect of Mirror Jade, destroying the entire opposing field, which is only happening at the end of the turn. I don't want you to destroy my field at the end of the turn. We could have held the Mercurier for something else. As we now turn this into a Grand Granole. Grand Granole on summon is going to send the Garura to randomly draw into a Dead Fool loss. Let's wipe out the Magna Hut, end our turn. Titan Clad, summon from the deck a Quem. Quem, send from the deck to the grave and Albaz. Albion trigger to grab a brain in red. This means we're toggling on. We got our toggled on. We are turned on right now to use the brain in red. We're gonna add the Albaz and then fuse. Fuse it up into another copy of Mirror Jade. And that will trigger the Quem to reborn the Cartesia. Holy moly. Send Rinbrum to non-target monster banish, as they then search for a Serenir. Also triggering. Both players have main phase 3. Cartesia add back. Now I like to consider Quem, Cartesia, and Mirror Jade as the Triforce, the Trinity. What's the Trinity play? Cartesia gets Mirror Jade in the grave, which then triggers Quem to reborn the Mirror Jade to then activate it again to non-target monster banish. That's the combo, that's the play. We're gonna activate Cartesia, special summon. We're gonna use our Rinbrum to reborn Albion. Huh? Did we think we had Albaz in the grave when we didn't? Or we're fusing with the Albion and the Mirror Jade into a Lubellion. Now, with the Lubellion discarding the Fool Lost, that will trigger the Quem, reborning the Mirror Jade to non-target monster banish. But the Serenir is gonna get rid of the Mirror Jade here, and that was public knowledge. We knew that was added to the hand during the end phase of the Magna Hut being summoned. It's 1-1. Crazy back and forth. It's so crazy, we're timing out. Albion Shrouded, send a Retribution for the deck to the grave. We're going to be chaining Max C to it, even though it is going to be returning back to the deck to draw. Now, the other effect of Sanctifier comes into play. Besides it not being fusible or targetable, it could take 2 cards from either player's graveyards and then summon them onto the field, 1 on each side. So that is essentially a DD Crow. It could also trigger a card like the Albaz to fuse the opposing side of the field. It's for some great plays. We are going to activate Max C. If you were to chain Ash to it, we could use the effect of Mercurial to negate it because we control the Sanctifier. Let's see what's good. Lubellion discarded to search our deck for the Serenir, which can now respond to the Sanctifier targeting either card in the grave. Now let's read an important effect of the Sanctifier. The Sanctifier says you target 2 monsters and you special summon both, meaning if you bestial one of the cards, the other one doesn't get summoned. That's a problem. Albaz, discard and fuse. We know that the Sanctifier cannot be fused with, so maybe we're not fearing it as much, but we still negated it actually. Negate. Sure. Cartesia, come forth and summon under the effect of Maxi. We're going to activate our own Cartesia, chain Cartesia to Cartesia. What's really good to note about Sanctifier is also it protects you from the finger. If they try to finger any of your cards, you just pull it out of the grave. We have Grand Grenoble on summon, ready to send, as our own Cartesia also summons our own Grand Grenoble. Now, our Grand Grenoble is going to be chain link blocking theirs from a potential negate. Since you summoned a monster through a monster effect, we get to trigger the effect of summon a Despian Priskenian. Now, the Priskenian is going to be able to target a Fusion Synchro Caesar link in your opponent's graveyard, banish it, or you could summon it to your side of the field. We're going to Rinbrum. Rinbrum is activating right here, right now. This states that you are going to be summon the monster you're targeting or this card and banish the other. What do you think happens here if Rinbrum's no longer in the field because it gets banished by the Priskenian? Well, it can't do both. So both can't happen, none happen. That's the problem here. It's essentially a DD Crow. So even though the Rinbrum is trying to summon Albaz, we're not banishing Albaz, we're banishing the Rinbrum. Bunish. And if it was not properly summoned, we then can't steal it. There you go, as you can see, no Albaz has been summoned. We're gonna grab our Branded Fusion with our Retribution. Sure. And let's return back the Albion. It's time to Branded Fuse, and we're going to use Albion right now to grab our own Albaz from engrave, but the Serenir is going to banish the Albaz targeting Max, C, and Albaz. Let's resolve it up into nothing again. Again. Rinbrum has to be able to perform both actions. Sanctifier has to be able to summon both monsters. So if you can't do one, you can't do the other. You can't do one, you can't do the other, happening twice in a row. It's very important to understand these rulings so that you don't waste negates. If you could just banish a card instead of negating it to stop the entire effect completely, that is much better. We're going to be Reborning Mercurier, which is activatable while on the field or in the hand, but it's a hard once per turn, so it's not activatable. We're going to summon a Lubellion. Are we actually going all the way under Max C? I cannot believe this. Into Mirror Jade. What is our damage on the field here? 13,000 damage. Now, there's an extra effect somewhere here that helps you lethal. And we also have to lethal under Magna Hut. We have 2 defense position monsters, a 3,000 attack, and a Magna Hut. The special effect is Perskenian. This states that when you destroy a monster by battle, you can inflict damage to your opponent equal to that monster's original attack. That's going to be 3,000 damage attacking over the Albion. It's going to be 3,200 total. Non-target monster banish, the defense position monster. 3,200 damage with the Perskenian, burning after taking out the Albion. We're left at 4,800 damage here. We have not activated the Mirror Jade yet, or have we? Or this is a newly summoned Mirror Jade. Non-target monster banish, right? Wait, did we already use it or not? Does not matter because we have lethal damage. Holy moly, I lost track if that one specifically activated, right? It did, it banished the defense monster. It did. Yeah, nicely done. Lethal through a Bestial under the Maxi challenge. What did you learn here? Not only is branded crazy, but if you're under the Maxi challenge and you're in the mirror match, you will look like an absolute fool if you don't account for a Bestial being summoned from the hand. This is more than once today. We've seen it twice today. Being able to ensure that we have lethal, even if they have a Bestial to block an attack. Nicely done. Now, off of this, we got the disrupt, lots of disruptions here. We could pop cards in the field. We can negate a monster. We could pop a card in the field. Do we have a Masquerena play? We don't have the Masquerena play, so we lose 2 disruptions there. We do have the Kieran, which could pop a card in the field. We do have Promethean, which could pop a card in the field. About 5 disruptions. Preventer activating the banish from the Graver to come forth and summon. Normal summon lifter. I was just realizing, where's Voiceless Voice? Voiceless, I did talk about Voiceless, why I believe it was doing well, and I'll tell you why I believe it fell off. And it's for the same reason on why it was doing well. In a meta where people are unsure of what the new best decks are because new cards came out or a big ban list just happened, I think Voiceless is going to be that deck that always sprouts its head every post-ban list. But then once people start realizing, hey, Sneak Eye Fire King is still nuts, and hey, Rescue Ace is actually now good again because Tenpai is not as prevalent. Those are more unfair decks than Voiceless. Voiceless really isn't that unfair, and unfair is essentially how good you are in Yu-Gi-Oh! Negate with Arvata popping the Ambla Whale, triggering the Garunix and the Ambla Whale to reborn the Hida. Because the Ritual deck, well, Ritual decks are not really unfair, right? Come forth, and what was the best Ritual deck back in the day? Not when I played. It was after I stopped playing. It was, I don't know, the one that's anti-extra deck. You tell me. Pop in Kieran from the deck, reborn the Volcanics, take out the Airlifter. Necros, yeah, Necros was good. Now, Drytron, yeah, a Decayed Ritual deck. I'm just going off what that guy said, but yeah, the Drytron, of course, was good. But it wasn't, Drytron rituals have never actually been good. Let's be clear on that. Herald of Ultimateness. To make rituals good, they had to make a card that just literally has infinite negates per card you have in your hand. That's a bit unfair to go that far to make a mechanic good. Skyburn. Pop in 1 card in the field by taking out the Arvata. That is too much. We're out of here. We are tapped out. Let's hop into game 2. All right. Emergency. Negated by Ash. Negate. Now, what do we have from here? We could follow up with our Hydrant. Hydrant is going to be activating to search our deck for a Turbulence. We're holding our Negate for that Turbulence as we now make a Linkuriboh. Now, with 2 Rescue Ace cards in the grave, we're going to banish to come forth and summon our Turbulence. With this, though, we sadly get impermed. Negate. No triple disruption setup through our Turbulence. We do have impermanence, though. We are going to be turning our Linkuriboh and Turbulence into a Little Knight, which there is nothing worth banishing, but we're going to banish anyway their impermanence because why not? As we set our own imperm. We have Little Knight, imperm, and Nibiru. Oh yeah, DK's still in 2024. Well, or I leaked to you that Blue Eyes is coming in 2026. Imperm negate the Ash, despite them potentially having a card like Kieran, which is played at 2. We're going to be following up. We have 2 disruption now. Little Knight, chain banishing the Diablo Star as we are setting up from the deck a Sinful Spoil card. That is going to be our original Sinful. We're now left with just Nibiru. Now, Impulse could chain to a monster effect to summon a monster from the deck, but that's not going to turn into a form of disruption unless we had another Rescue Ace in the field. Then Preventer would be able to get flipping. Are you ready? Nibiru on 1 more summon. Pop, grab Garunix. Garunix is going to be triggering. Summon itself onto the field. Pop from the deck a Garunix. As we now make a Hida. Hida's going to activate, reborn the Turbulence. We're going to chain Impulse. Are we chaining Nibiru to Impulse? We tribute off Hida. Hida doesn't steal our card. Nibiru comes out, then Impulse summons a monster from the deck. No, we ain't doing that. Okay. Fire Engine. Well, Fire Engine will trigger. And then we're going to Nibiru. Okay. Kind of the same premise of Nibiru and get another body onto the field. As the Fire Engine sets up the Airlifter, which will set up our next turn with the Rescue. Nicely done. Wanted Seeker, return a card back on the deck, the original Sinful, to randomly draw into a Finger. Little Knight returning our card back onto the field with Turbulence in the grave, with a Finger on field. That is scary. I don't know, what's the fear? Rescue it from the grave if you were to Finger it. The Preventer banishes a cost, so you'd want to Finger preemptively. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Maybe saving Finger for Preventer is just the best play. And just like that, we have Garunix. Garunix on summon, destroy all other monsters on the field. Ain't no way. It's like a 20-year-old card. We are preempting our Rescue onto the Fire Engine to return it back just for it to get fingered. And now we could follow up with Preventer instead. But do we have a way to get Preventer in grave? Diablo Star triggering to set up into the back row the original Sinful. We're going to be banishing from engrave our Turbulence. And with no way to get Preventer in grave, Preventer is Sag. That's not good. What the heck? As Little Knight comes back during the end phase, returning back the Avatar Phoenix, that is. Ponix on summon, searching for a Skyburn. Activate the Skyburn, attempting to take out the Little Knight and Preventer. We're going to chain Little Knight, banish itself, plus the Ponix. Now, what happens here? Because you tried to banish my level 1 that's no longer on the field, the Little Knight will not jump off the field. It is gone. It had to target itself plus the Garunix. Because of that, it stays in the field, will not come back, say goodbye to Preventer. And that is a scoop. 2-0 victory. Was Tenpai keeping down Rescue Ace, or is Rescue Ace just not good enough? Let's go. We have a non-target monster banish. We have the ability to reborn Albaz to fuse the opposing field. We have a Mercurial Search, which will be a monster negate. We have the ability to fuse with the opponent's field again with a banishment, plus the fusion monster we summon, which will be a form of disruption. That is about 5 disruptions we currently have. Volcanics on summon. We're going to be chaining the banishment to the Volcanics popping a fire from the hand to search for a fire. Reborn Albion, fuse with our field into Light and Darkness Dragon. So we didn't fuse with their field, so we lose a disruption. And we summoned a monster with 3 disruption, which I counted it for potentially having 1, and it said having 3. So we went from 5 disruption to 5, 6 disruptions. And this will mandatory negate anything. Once per chain. Okay. All right. Let's go. Triggering the loss, which it does not negate, and already face-up spell or trap. Crashing. Crashing. What does this do? Let's read this. Negate the activation. You are trying to get around my negate when I can negate in the damage step, mate. But the Grunic still triggers in the damage step. Volcanics trying to summon for the deck. Call forth Grunics again within the damage step. So it's worth noting, can Mercurier negate the Grunics? If it can, that would be a really good negate. Let's read it, mate. This states, negate the effect. Cannot be used in the damage step. So can and cannot. But the problem is, so we activated, if we activate it again, the Light and Darkness Dragon Lord negates again. So it's on a separate chain. So even though we got the Grunics on the same chain of it activating to negate, we got it out, but we can't activate it again because it would negate it again. Another negate. Reborn a dragon. What? We couldn't fuse? Oh my gosh, if we could have fused, that would have been great. A damage step Albaz fuse the opposing field off of the effect of Darkness Dragon Lord. I could see it right now. It's got to be somewhere in the 20-hour guide where it says, when you're done with Dragon Lord, crash it into the opponent's monster for a damage step fusion play. That is crazy. We are going to Bonfire. So we're now down to 4 disruption, right? 4, we should be back down to 4. Poplar being added. Mercurier is going to negate. We have 3 more disrupt. Original Sinful, send the Grunics to summon the Oak. Oak on summon, reborn a level 1 fire or add it to the hand as the Ash attempting to be reborn onto the field is now fingered. Negate. We still have non-target monster banish of the Mirror Jade. The Albaz was not activated to fuse with yet. Grand Granule triggering to summon onto the field since you summon a monster through a monster effect. We have Quem. Quem on summon has not activated yet this turn, as we now Mirror Jade go for that non-target monster banish. Wiping out from the field, nothing as it leads to a direct surrender. Let's go to game 2. Volcanics is not a play. What the heck? We're gonna have to send Volcanics to summon from the deck into a Fua loss as we finger that Fua loss to negate. We have Imperm. We have Masquerina double banish into Lil Knight. We have Valor negate a monster alongside the Imperm. And then, alongside those 4 disruptions that we could see on the field and in the hand, what do we have in Grave? We have Promethean Princess pop on a special summon. We then have the Garunic summon to then pop a Kirin to then reborn the Arvata to pop a card in the field. And then the Arvata itself is a monster negate. That is 7 disruption, but we do have a Called by the Grave. The problem with one finger is it's only one finger. We want to finger so many other things in the graveyard that one is not enough. Fusion deployment, reveal Mirror Jade to summon the Albaz on summon, discard, diffuse as we Imperm, negate. Now down to 6. The Linkuriboh is also protecting Masquerina, which is quite a big deal here. As we follow up a branded opening, discard to summon from the deck Alibur. Alibur into a Valor negate. We are going to finger the Veiler and not save it for another play. That is wild. So you may be thinking, if you finger my Veiler, I will chain Promethean Princess. That's something you would try to do in the TCG. It's not legal anywhere. Don't try to do that. You had a trigger window, which you passed on Promethean. So you said no to Promethean, and then it said, would you like to use Veiler? Then you use Veiler, they then chain called by. You then can't go back and go, all right, now I'm going to Promethean. Nope, you missed the window. Add from the deck our Branded Fusion. And let's get Branded Fusing as we go into a Little Knight play. This is going to be quite interesting. The Little Knight will be on the higher chain link. No, we're going into Apollo USA, not Little Knight. Just a double negate. That's it, mate. Okay. Double negate Apollo USA, mate. Now, Apollo cannot negate Albion activating the fuse if there were a branded lost. It could activate if the summon of the Albion was on chain link 2 or higher and the lost missed the timing. The problem is you can't negate the activation. I just want to make that clear, okay? It would be the other effect of the loss that protects it besides making it so it couldn't even activate. But if it were in a scenario where it could activate, then, so it would be, let's say, duplication on Chainlink 2 to copy the Branded Fusion just for the Apollo to try to activate to negate. We are going to negate the Lubellion. So what you should know about what I'm saying is Apollo against Albaz with the Branded Lost doesn't work because you're trying to negate the activation of a fusion effect. Let's set up the banishment here. And Branded was able to play through a turn 1 and set up some disruption. We're going to draw phase, reborn the Albion to then go into a Mirror Jade. Now, with that Mirror Jade, we have a non-target monster banish. But beyond that, what else do we have? We do have a play to reborn Albaz to attempt to fuse the opposing field, but in order to fuse with the Albaz, you kind of need a card in your hand to discard. So if we don't have a card to discard, that's going to be quite difficult to do. Thus, we are relying on just a single non-target monster banish of Mirror Jade. We have Oak reborning the Ponix, grabbing the Skyburn. Skyburn can't kill the Mirror Jade because we have Branded Opening. Who remembered that? We have the Garunix triggering, though, off of our fire monster being destroyed to reborn, to then pop from the deck of Kirin, to then reborn from Engrave. Why are we activating Mirror Jade? Because this is the last chance to Mirror Jade before it will now actually be destroyed because the opening protects it only once, not twice, and we are destroying it a second time. As we send Titanclad to non-target monster banish the Oak, reborn the Arvata, take out the Mirror Jade, trigger the effect of the Mirror Jade, and we don't even bother negating it because I guess we plan on ending the duel right here, right now. We gotta have game to not want to stop that Mirror Jade effect. Poplar being added through the Ash being summoned, trigger the Poplar, summon, come forth and make a Promethean Princess. Promethean, reborn a fire monster from Engrave, which will be Flameburst, which has the effect to push a monster on the field into the back row you go, or we could go into the back row, into the graveyard, that is to push it into the back row. As we make the Raging Phoenix into the Zealantis. And just like that, banish the entire field, reborn back the entire field, and don't forget to trigger your Promethean Princess to then trigger the Raging Phoenix for lethal damage. Nicely done. All right. Start this off with an Albur, which is Ash Bait, mate. But does that mean negating Albur is a bad play? No way. If you have Imperm or Veiler, you want to negate that Albur, definitely. We're gonna get rid of the Mercurier, get Rinbrum on the grave to search for a Springen Kit. Kit could help search for Branded Fusion if you did not have it. Another bait on the Ash Mates, as we now grab that Branded Lost to make it so the activation of the Branded Lost, Branded Fusion cannot be negated. We're going to negate the effect, not the activation. Negate. Damn. Just hit holy moly, that's bad. Wow. The deck loses to Ash, huh? Yeah, I don't think anyone really saw that coming. Let's go. Volcanics. Well, you ash me, I ash you. Seems fair. We could use Kieran to get poppin'. Of course, not to dodge the Ashe, but Kieran's going to be some plays. It's going to pop the Arvata. We're going to further link this up into a Hida. With the Hida, we are going to be reborning the opposing player's Ashe, and with that, we're now going to make a Promethean Princess. With Promethean, we're going to be reborning the Arvata we popped in the hand, and we now have a monster negate as we clear up this field. Now, if they were to top deck a monster to fuse with, like I guess they need Albaz, they'd have to have a card in their hand to discard. Let's say they have Albaz plus discard a card, plus protected by the brand loss. Does Arvata negate the Albaz correctly, or does loss protect it? Let's read it. It negates the activation, which means Arvata cannot negate Albaz while there's a face-up branded lost. That's interesting. There's the tragedy, which, ooh, we kill ourselves and then grab back branded fusion. But Arvata negates that play. It's a great play. Beautiful. But Arvata stops it. Negate. Damn. Can't scoop because of finals. This is not the finals. He scooped. He's out of here. The tragedy was a valid play. Let's go. 1 for 1. Must discard a monster. Summoning the level 1 D-Lotus. D-Lotus jumping off the field to summon a Spirit Yubel. Spirit Yubel into Impermanence. Negate. Oh, this is not looking good. Our triple tactics talent's not activatable after getting impermed, and we got 2 of them. Sprite Elf's gonna make the Phantom of Yubel untargetable, discard with the Spirit Gates, reborn the Spirit Yubel, and now Varudras is untargetable. No, it's not. Oh no, don't protect Varudras? Okay. No, why? Why is this like open? I guess we want the Soul of Rage to be opened, right? We want the Soul of Rage to be untargetable. Maybe Varudras should be untargetable and not the Phantom of Yubel, and then you could still leave this open for the Soul of Rage, right? That's what I'm thinking. Now, what do we have here? We have negate anything. And on top of it negating, it could, in addition to that, it will be able to destroy a card in the field, but rarely do we get that additional disruption. So it's a potential 1 to 2 disruption, but mostly just 1. Phantom of Yubel, negate a monster effect. Escape of Unchained will pop a card on the field after reborning it with the Sprite Elf. And then with the Unchained Soul of Rage, we could link with the Special Summon monster into a Little Knight Banish, into another Little Knight Banish. This is 6 disruptions. And I talk about a negate disruption and Omni Negate being worth more than a regular negate. I generally see it as, like, if I were to set a weighting scale to it, probably a 1.5. So 2 Omni Negates is as good as 3 generic disruptions, is what I would say. Just completely made up. All right, let's see what is good. 3, 4, 5, 6. We are discarding to come forth and summon our Diablo Star. Diablo Star setting up with the original Sinful. And now, reborn the Soul of Rage. Now, link off into a Little Knight. And now, into Little Knight on summon, banish. Not the original Sinful, but the Wanted Seeker Engrave. We're making a Link Karibo with our newly summoned Oak as we send it to the graveyard to summon from the deck. Nothing is the Varudras negate. Damn. This turn 1 field is after an impermanence. We popped our own card to trigger the Yama? Ain't no way. What? That was wild. Nicely done. And what is good? Let's turn this into a Muckraker, giving us 8,800 damage. Wham bam, thank you ma'am. Taking this into game number 2. Finish him. There's a lot of people crying about Gimmick Puppet though, on Reddit at least. And when I hear those cries, I don't know if it means that Konami may be hitting the deck despite it not being that good. but possibly. It is a toxic playstyle. It is a first turn kill. We are going to equip Poplar from the grave into our back row. Reborn the Ash, Oaks, and Poplar. Summon for the deck, Flameburge. When do we use our impermanence? When? What happened to Purely? Purely got hit by the ban list 3 times. Delicious to 1, both Purely semi-limited. As we now make our Sunlight Wolf. We have Flameburge reborning 2 level 1s after being sent to the grave. Let's speed this up. I mean, I'm just waiting for the impermanence though. Apollo USA 2400, triple monster negate. Now we may just want to hold in perm for our next turn to just shotgun imperm the Apollo and then make plays from there. We have Garunix pop from the deck, Volcanics come forth and summon. This is a very common TCG play to ensure that you play around a Nibiru. You want to work your way towards Apollo and then make your other plays afterward. Got Ambler Whale. Whale. Imperm right here, right now. Sure, could be used also on their turn. That's fine to reduce her to 0. Now, let's talk about this field. We have monster negates. We have the ability to reborn Masquerena to then do a double banish. We then have Amble Whale, which will be non-target popping a card in the field. We then have the effects of, okay, we have Arvata, this one, 2 cards, Promethean Princess, and non-target pop. We have about 6 disruptions, 6. So we played through 6. Pop Spirit Yubel to summon a Yubel from the deck. Whoa, are we going for a Nightmare Pain lethal damage? Summon a Phantom of Yubel. We're gonna Kieran pop the Amble Whale, triggering Amble to reborn the Masquerena and the Garunix to then pop a Kieran on the field or from the deck to then pop a card in the field. It's happening. We have to trigger the Amble Whale before Promethean Princess. You cannot do Promethean first unless you have Kieran to pop the Promethean. Non-target pop, taking out the D-Lotus. We're at 5 disruption left. Turning this into a Little Knight, we do get a banish on summon. On summon, going for the Fire King Island, we are going to negate that Little Knight. Negate. Pop the Flameburge from in hand. As we now summon a Phantom of Yubel, we'll be triggering our Promethean Princess. Come forth, Promethean. As we now Arvata reborn the Kieran. Also, the Throne is triggering to summon a Yubel onto the field here. Kieran back onto the field. We do have our double Little Knight play and Amble Whale. So that's the 3 disruptions left. Little Knight double banish plus the Amble Whale destruction effect. Nightmare Pain. Activate to pop the Spirit of Yubel from in hand to grab a Squirmer from the deck, triggering Spirit of Yubel to summon a Yubel from the deck. Whoa. The secret extra disruption that rarely is ever used because not everyone is playing this card, and that is a Garunix Eternity, Hayang of the Fire Kings, which will on summon destroy all other monsters on the field. How is that even triggered? From the Fire King Sanctuary, which states when your opponent special summons a monster, you could perform an Xyz summon. So we're at 4 disruption potentially. Activate. Chain Little Knight, Chain Masquerena. Now, the monster we summon cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. So is this even a 4th disruption if we're killing our own newly summoned monster as it's, we don't actually think it's protected, right? Uh-oh. This 4 is imaginary. This is not real. The Phoenix gonna die, is dead. So we lost that. We lose that. Yep. We can trigger the Amble Whale as our final disruption. And if we don't, then we have nothing. It's our final disrupt. That's it. Nada. 0. Pop a card in the field. Now we're going to take out the Nightmare Pain, right? Because there's not going to be another one. There shouldn't be. We're not going to get lethaled here. They're not going to swing 4 Yubels into our Garunix. Holy moly, Yubel's still cooking after, what, 6 disruptions we played through? Now, we traded the Garunix Eternity for a double Little Knight play, but did we make a mistake? The problem is, this is what I think was supposed to happen. Oh my gosh, Access Code Talker. I think this was supposed to be bait for the Little Knight because Little Knight started pinning down Masquerena. If you could find me art on that, that'd be good to help explain the situation better. As the Masquerena, if it were to chain into a Link summon, Little Knight would just chain banish it. So we maybe tried to Sanctuary when not really wanting to do it, hoping that the Little Knight would banish one of the level 8s and then we would follow up with Masquerena, but no, the Little Knight stayed on top of Masquerena. Boost 5,300, take out the Fire King Island. Not enough for game. Oh boy, we have nothing. Off the top of the deck, 1-for-1 can be used with the Diablo Star if we wanted to. Oh, Prometheus was also on the field too? Okay, well, that would be another situation then. Yeah, didn't I say you have to use the Masquerena before Prometheus is summoned? I guess we forgot about that part. Huh? Set, pass, wanted, seeker, original sinful. Where are you? Are we really out of juice? This card's in the grave? We didn't 1-for-1? What could we even 1-for-1? The Poplar, limited to 1. The Ash, limited to 1. The Oak is only played at 1. Ponix into what? Do we Ponix into a Sanctuary Fire King Island? They are gone. What do we grab? Ponix into Skyburn? I think 2,700 life. You could summon Ponix, swing in, and you die, but if you didn't die, you would trigger the Garunix Engrave to summon to then pop, right? Did we have a Skyburn with Ponix? Where is Skyburn? Where is it? I think we screwed up. Did we not? Am I wrong, or was Skyburn the play? Oh, crap. You also don't play more than 1 Ponix? Is that normal? Lethal damage. Let me check that. Let's check that while we're still in the duel. All right. Let's see. Holy crap. The 1-for-1 was actually dead? Ain't no way. 23% played 2. We were not. We're the 77%. Never follow the herd. You always want to be a free thinker. You got to be the lower percent always. All right? Come on, man. I'm kidding. You played your deck correctly. It's just unfortunate. You only had 1 Ponix. Damn. Grand finale. Who is the best deck? Branded, Snake Eye Fire King, Yubel. They're all fighting to be the best of mediocrity as we all wait for, I mean, come on, we all know what we're waiting for. We're waiting for Fiendsmith. We're waiting for a new top best, actual, real, great deck. As we make a Link Karibo off of this, Poplar triggering, equip itself into the back row. Original Sinful, send Poplar, come forth and summon for the deck in Oak. Oak on summon, activate, reborn the Poplar. Oak, send the Sanctuary and get hit by an Ash Blossom as we attempt to summon Flame Burst in the deck. That is what we're negating. We're negating a Flame Burst summon. As we then Fire King Island, follow up, pop our Ponix, grab Garunix, trigger Garunix, summon Garunix, activate Garunix, pop Arvata trigger, reborn, back in the field our Ponix. As we now turn this into a Masquerena, we want to get Masquerena in grave because it's rebornable with Ambler Whale. Let's now make a Promethean Princess with the Masquerena as Promethean reborns another body on the field. That's going to be the Arvata. Now, this field is incredible, but it hard loses to Super Poly. Let's say we're playing against Branded, which probably plays triple Super Poly. You may not want to end your field like this no matter how high the number of disruptions you have because of the susceptibility of losing to that 1 card, right? Well, now, we don't have to worry about that in this matchup. So it's just important to note the differences in different matchups and what end field is better. Now, with this end field, it is great. We have a Monster Negate with Arvata. We have pop a card in the field with Skyburn. We have Ambler Whale, reborn the Masquerena for a double banish play with Little Knight. We have Ambler Whale, non-target, pop a card on the field. We also have Promethean Princess, pop a monster on the field when a special summon happens, and then we have Garunix popping a Kirin, which reborns in the grave, which non-target pops a card in the field, giving us 7 disruption, plus a Max C. Max C and 7 disruption versus 4 cards in our hand, 5 once we draw. Imperm, pretty good. Seven disrupts. We're gonna Piri Reese map, search our deck for the Dark Beckoning Beast. Minus 4K. As we follow up Nightmare Pain, pop the Spirit of Yubel to grab a Grave Squirmer, trigger the Spirit of Yubel to summon a Yubel from the deck. Arvata negating a Yubel summon. Quite interesting. Negate, we're now down to 6 disruption. Pop an Amble Whale will trigger the whale to reborn the Masquerena. It's important to do that before you activate the Promethean Princess, which would lock you out of summoning the Masquerena. Dark Beckoning, additional summon into D-Lotus. Let's Skyburn, wipe out that D-Lotus. We're now down to 5 disruption, triggering the Arvata and the Garunix. The Garunix will turn into a form of disruption. The Arvata will help with what the Masquerena goes into. As we now, Garunix, pop from the deck, Kieran, trigger, reborn from the grave, pop the Dark Beckoning Beast. We're at 4 disruption. Summon a Phantom of Yubel. Spirit Gates searching for a Dark Beckoning Beast. With these Spirit Gates, we'll discard the Dark Beckoning to reborn the D-Lotus very likely, as we're now going to respond with a Masquerena into Little Knight play, so that we could banish that newly summoned D-Lotus. Now, we do have a Phantom of Yubel to negate that banishment. Come forth, as we activate, targeting to banish, Phantom of Yubel, negate the effect, chain the Little Knight to banish the D-Lotus temporarily until the end phase. You're now down to 2 disruptions left. What do we have? We have Promethean Princess plus Amble Whale. And we may draw into another hand trap. We're making a Lord of Yama. We're focusing on what we do in response to a special summon. That is the play. Now, if Promethean destroys Yama, that will trigger Amble Whale to pop another card. It would be a double whammy. Spirit of Yubel, grabbing a Nightmare Pain. I gotta check the hand traps also, make sure they don't draw anything new. Oh, Ash is another disruption. Yep, we're now up to 3. Negate, mate. We Arvata negated the summon of a Yubel. We Ash negated the summon of a Yubel. As we now make a Soul of Anguish, this has to be Promethean. No way. No way. Link Karibo dodging. Oh, shoot. I would be very upset if that happened to me. That sucks. Wow. We targeted the level 1 for Link summoning. Holy crap. Summon a Phantom of Yubel. Like, we haven't Promethean, right? Am I out of my freaking mind? Yeah, Promethean has not happened. Wow. Now? Okay, finally. And we Amble Whale, pop a card in the field. Yep. What are we popping? We're gonna Yama trigger as we Amble Whale trigger the final disruption. Every disruption I talked about at the start of this turn, we went through every single one, all 7, which turned into 8 because of the Ash Blossom we newly drew. And there you go, my hand is free. That's a big hand. We are drawing into 13 cards here. Oh no, we already drew 12 cards. Imperm, negate Promethean, Kieran, dodge. If you really cared, if this was a different scenario here, you want to think about using Imperm preemptively if you don't think they have a way to resummon the card, and that is how you could stop them from being able to chain Kieran to their negated Promethean, as that would not work. Always think about that with Valor and Imperm. Preempt your negate, possibly just as an option. Not saying it would have been a good play here, but then Promethean would have not been able to reborn from the grave. We have Garunix triggering, reborn because Promethean was popped from the deck, Volcanics, which will summon a Garunix from the deck. Thank you. Just end this duel. Piri Reese map, setting them to 4K life. Game 1 going to Snake Eye Fire King. Piri Reese map, having our life to grab that D-Lotus. Varudross is here. Now, if we remember, turn 1, last game, Snake Eye Fire King had 7 disruptions and then drew into an Ash, so we're not going to count that. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 disruptions. quite similar. And one of those 6 disruptions is the Varudras being a negate. So it's like, I would say it's like 6.5. And then the Varudras has the possibility of being an extra disruption if there's another card in the field to destroy. Called 6. 6 disrupt. Escape of the Unchained, wiping out the Soul of Rage and the newly activated Fire King Island. We're now down to 5 as we trigger the Yama to reborn back onto the field our Soul of Rage, ready to link off with a newly special summon monster. But wait, the opponent has a finger. But wait, we have a Varudras to negate that finger. Do we waste the Varudras negate? Holy moly, we do not negate the finger. So the 5 disruptions now goes down to 2. You know how I just told you I valued Varudras's negate at like a 1.5 in terms of counting disruptions? Diavolo just valued the Varudras at not 1, not 1.5, not even 2. He valued it at better or as equal as 3 disruptions. The Soul of Rage would have linked with a special summon into a Little Knight Banish into another Little Knight Banish. All 3 of those disruptions for 1 Varudras. We held the Varudras. I'm not saying it's a mistake, just explaining what the heck's going on here. As the Phantom of Yubel negates the Poplar, as we're now left with just a Varudras and nothing else. We have negate anything with the option to destroy a card in the field. We did not even Varudras. We held it. Wow. At the start of the damage step, if this card attacks while it has a material, you can destroy 1 card in the field. Now, if you destroy the monster it's attacking into, you deal no damage, you don't get a replay on your attack, so do understand that. It's similar to a King Sarcophagus, where it's a non-target removal. It is a destroy, though. It can destroy anything on the field, so arguably way better than King Sark. King Sark is a non-target send, so it is better when you send than destroy in most cases. But as again I said, the Varudras could be anything. Access code talker plus Varudras. Looks like Varudras has replaced Chaos Angel, right? And just like that, 8,000 damage. Nicely done. The versatility, the value of an Omni Negate attached to a giant body. Now, it's so interesting is when we're all trying to figure out, hey, what do I use my imperm on? Sometimes the best time to imperm is to not imperm, is to use it for the second turn, or as you saw earlier, an end phase onto the Apollo was the best case of using it. Now we are going to actually be using it early onto the Poplar. Negate that Poplar from grabbing the original Sinful, and we took a gamble. And do you think we won that gamble? We lost the gamble. We failed the gamble. The gamble was they don't have another way to get the original Sinful. That's what happens. Sometimes you can't win it big if you don't gamble. It was a high risk, but a high reward. A great reward by using the imperm early. Oh, we got punished. Nothing? This is disgusting. We have 2 impermanences on top of whatever we have. We have negate a monster effect. We have double banish with the Masquerena into Little Knight. We have pop a card in the field with the Amble Whale. We have Promethean Princess pop a card in response to a special summon. We have Garunix pop an Akira into summons and then pop a card in the field. That's 6 disruption, which is not enough apparently because we also have imperm for our 7th, imperm for our 8th. 8 disruptions versus a 5-card hand. This should never be a thing, Konami. I don't like this, no. Because you don't even have to think about what to use your cards on. It's literally you just 1 for 1 every card, and you will likely come out on top without even thinking. Just click yes. 7 disruption. Okay, can we outplay with talent in some way? Triple tactics talent. As we fire off our first negate Arvata, negate. You think Fiendsmith will come and save the game? Is that what's happening here? Amble Whale, triggering the Ponix, come forth, reborn the Masquerena as we summon the Ponix. Yusuf, you should agree to be cool and not use your impermanences no matter what. Don't touch them. Masquerina, link off with the Ponix, and I don't blame him if he does, though. He should. It is the grand finale. Little Knight is here. Little Knight on summon. Get ready to banish. Alrighty. We are now down to 5 disruption. We're going to now summon a Phantom of Yubel because we didn't expect them to have that many Yubels in their hand to just straight up summon one. Perm, you cheater! Negate the Phantom of Yubel. Phantom of Yubel kills itself as we then triple Tactics Talent. Draw 2. Hey, D-Lotus into... Bro, you used both of your impermanences into an Almirage. Promethean Princess. I think we're going for the Spirit Gates, mate. Yup. Say goodbye to the Spirit Gates. As the Ambler Whale triggers to pop it. We're also going to be summoning the Garunix and then pop a Kirin. I guess we're wiping out the Throne and the Spirit Gates. You what, mate? What is going on? I feel like the Ambler Whale is kind of wasted. Kirin, pop Throne. Sure. We already activated the Arvata. Did we really use everything, huh? Everything was used, even both impermanences. Apparently we needed it. Promethean Reborn, just like that, over 11,000 damage. Finish him. All right, does that conclude the question of what's the current best deck? Snake Eye Fire King among branded Yubel and Snake Eye Fire King? Meta weekly top deck breakdown. Branded, dominating, doing so well, getting into the top 16, a bunch of them. And I think that puts it at tier 1 now, right? Yeah, branded tier 1 after that. I mean, they have to be. There's way too many topping. Tenpai, a little bit of a rise too. Interesting. Okay, let's check out the decks. Labyrinth, this is what I wanted. Justinian's, wow. You made this 40 cards? I could have swore it was like 60 or something. That is actually insane. This is great. This is actually good. I like this. I'm going to be playing this White Forest Labyrinth. Ritual Beast. Mayback. Mayback. Looking clean. Anything out of the norm here? I don't see it. Looking normal. Looking good. Rescue Ace. Nikki Boy. 4 to 3 cards. Anything out of the norm. Looks standard. We got triple Nibiru. Tenpai Dragon. We have Dark Angel. 9 Maxis. Of course. We got the 9. And then we have Kokushibo. We have 7 Maxis. Interesting. Okay. Sure. And now let's get Yubelin. Diabolo. 42 cards. Everyone's going to be playing the Vardross. Anything different? We have double Ualos in the main deck. And then Melito. More double. Is that it? 3 Maxi, 2 Fualos. That's how we do it? Double Fua. Okay. Diabolo and Melito. Good job. Who else? We have Snake Eye Fire King. No Fualos. First place Yusuf. 40 cards. Looking clean. Don't people generally play more than 40 cards for Snake Eye Fire King? I thought so. 41. Yeah, okay, it's not really off different. Sure. Valor over Fualos. Okay. Again, Valor and Ghost Ogre over Fualos in Boss's deck. Was Fualos overhyped? I mean, like, it's got to be good, right? What's going on? Rixia. Valor over Fualos? What happened to Fualos? How are we going to get Maxi banned at this rate? It's not going to happen. Snitrox, 2 Fualos. Out of 4, only 1 of them playing 2 Fualos. Wow. Okay. And then the branded decks, they're not even normal. They're all going to be 60 cards, I'm sure. Sumed, triple Fualos. There's the extra deck. They're all going to be on Delay in Darkness Dragon Lord. I got to pay attention to that. Kaori, triple Full loss with the Delay in Darkness Dragon Lord. Also playing the Chaos Star Source. Stigmata, no Full loss. Okay. Delay in Darkness Dragon Lord. Yep. And then Kawaki, triple Full loss. Ooh, we have the Vice King Requiem. This card states that you cannot special summon monsters except triple D. Give it to them and then they're screwed. There we go. Delay in Darkness Dragon Lord. Then April on triple Full loss. You know it. Then there's the extra deck, of course, on Delay in Darkness. April's playing Anaconda, not Anaconda. So 3 Anacondas and 1 none. So there we go. Good job to everyone that played in today's event. Very much proud of all of you that did well. Let's see the Full loss final stats, the final analytics on the Full loss. Is this overhyped or what? Full loss. Whoops, gotta spell Full loss correctly. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 out of 16 playing Full loss. 10 out of 16. And then we have 7. 7 out of 16 playing 3 Full loss. Then 3 playing 2. Anyone playing 1? No one's playing 1. Okay, so there you go. Those are the Full loss stats and all that good stuff. And the new tier list as branded is going to be hanging on tier 1 for how long though? Lane Darkness Dragon Lord really that good? And a lot of them are playing maxing out on the Full loss. So thank you very much. That is the event. We're out.